Sorry, I'm just writing down a bunch of stuff about the Cameron Diaz thing.
Okay.
But I'm ready to go when
we should be live on the tubes now. We finally got it. Okay.
The Tubes. My mom wouldn't let me go see them in concert.
Okay. Let's see. So we are all set to go here, almost on time, which is a miracle in itself. Drew, any questions before we get going?
No, let's get to it.
All right. Jeff, are you set?
I'm still writing some stuff down, but I'm good.
All right.
I'm good. Dude, just go for it. I'm good.
All right, here we go.
Hey, this is Annie Pouch with Brew Cruise, Santa Cruz's microbrewery tour. I am on We Like Drinking podcast, where you never drink alone.
At the sound of the tone, the official We Like Drinking time will be 5 o'clock. Commence consumption.
This week on episode 287 of the We Like Drinking podcast, we'll be discussing some Rhone varieties, clean wine. I think I just heard a bunch of people throw things. And we're talking Nenow Family Wines with winemaker Drew Nenow. So crack open that beer, uncork that wine, and let's get drinking! Goodness, everybody, we are getting ready for tonight's show, and I am super excited about this one. You know, it's going to be a good show when I look up and I think everybody was pounding their first glass of wine and finishing it off. So we know we are in for a treat tonight. So let me get this started by saying cheers, my podcast drinking friends, and welcome to Happy Hour 287 of your favorite award-winning topical beer and wine education podcast focusing on fun. Fun. We like to have it. So make sure you never miss another episode of our brand of drinking fun by visiting welikedrinking.com/subscribe. All right. We have a lot to get through tonight, so we're just going to get right into it and find out who we're drinking with. We have our usual panel members. We have our California Sustainable Wine Growing Ambassador and recovering wine blogger, Jeff Solomon.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
We have our commercial brewer and snake wrangler, John Ruyak.
Whoa.
And I am your host and certified specialist of wine, Jeff Eccles. Now, our guest this week is the co-owner and winemaker of Nenow Family Wines, who officially launched just this spring. Crazy year to launch. Oh, my goodness. With a tasting room planned for this fall. You may recognize our guest from some other places he has helped make wine, like Villa San Juliette in Paso Robles, a little place called Turley Wine Cellars, and ONX Estate Winery. Please help us welcome Drew Nenow. Welcome to the show, Drew.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So excited.
Never heard of that Turley wine. Gotta check that out.
Never.
Might have they make a couple different wines that you might want to check out.
I hope they're clean.
Speaking of cleanliness, let's find out what everybody's drinking here tonight. John Ruyak, you look like you have a big bottle of something there.
I dirtying up my glass with some Lizard Tail Schwarz beer. There's only about a keg and a quarter left of it. So, and you know, even as I've talked about before, it's a dark beer, but it's a light drinker.
Nice. Drew, what's in your glass?
I am drinking a Grenache from a friend here in Paso Robles, winery called Full Draw Winery. And this Grenache is called Hard Point. This is the winery where we actually share the space with them. They allow us to make the wine within their winery.
Oh,
and
nice.
Some really, really awesome high-quality Rhone producers.
Excellent. Jeff Solomon?
Nice. Hey, so I was just thinking about John's Schwarz beer, and we were yapping it up on the Facebook earlier this week, and I still contend all German beers taste exactly the same, even if they're brewed by fine craft brewers in these United States of America.
I'm scratching. I've got an itch on my forehead.
So I am drinking, and there's a little bit of a tiny little story behind this. I am drinking the Gourmet Alley Pilsner from Promised Land Brewing Company in Gilroy, California. Some folks in the tavern might have seen me post what I had for dinner tonight. This upcoming weekend, would have been this year's Garlic Festival in Gilroy, California. And COVID shut that down. It's also the first Garlic Festival since, the very last day there was a shooter there. So it was a pretty weird time to be living in Gilroy. And we were all kind of looking forward to getting back to it this year. But I decided to make my own Garlic Fest inspired meal. So I made some shrimp scampi, and if you call it scampi, get out of Dodge. Also some roasted garlic French fries, and some garlic bread. And I am my mouth is hot. It's warm.
That microphone is loving life right now.
Oh yeah. And I harp on, look, here's the thing. I know Drew would never make garlic wine. There is this one horrible winery in Gilroy that's just really just disrespecting our whole community. They put raw garlic in their wine, which is just, if you were gonna do it, roasted garlic maybe, but still it'd be disgusting. The only time I ever use raw garlic is if you make it into like a fine paste, and I was using that with my garlic fries, so I am like hot fire right now. Like it's awesome. Oh, and if I get to it later, I have some craft hard seltzer from Promised Land. It's their Terp Water series that they just started. So they actually have cannabis terpenes in here. There's no THC or CBD. It's just like, think about the what was the Hemperor that you were drinking before, but in like a hard tonic water. It's lemons and marijuana flavor, and it's actually not bad.
Well, at least you said that.
That's a ringing endorsement. Not bad.
Kara was into it in the pool. She was getting tipsy on that Terp water.
I kind of had a feeling our guest might be drinking a Grenache or some kind of Rhone variety tonight. So I dove into the cellar. I marched down the steps into the cellar, and I found some 2018 some TP Reserve from
Nice
Grant Long Jr. Some El Dorado Grenache.
We drank that yesterday, and I've got some questions for Drew about that. So. Not about Grenache itself.
Okay, good.
Not about toilet paper. I don't have any questions for anybody about toilet paper. I know how to use toilet paper.
Well, that's good, John. You've come a long way.
It's not the after party yet, John. Like, because I do have some follow up.
Hey, we're talking about the moose and squirrel in the after party.
Speaking of Nenow Family Wines, you can find Nenow Family Wines on Instagram at Nenow Family Wines or on their website at NenowFamilyWines.com. It's nice when you can get all the things wrapped into one name. It helps out a lot with the branding, I think, Drew.
Yeah. It helps when nobody has the same last name as you. So
yeah.
True.
That would have been a real bummer if your handle was like at @knee_now1732.
that's not an accessible thing.
KNEE now wine. And Nenow is NENOW. If you are slightly confused. All right, we're about to get into the show. We got through all that stuff. Let's take a little break while we get into this little bit we like to call Wine, Beer, Spirit, or Pop Culture Reference. This is where I'm going to give the panel member a term, as well as everybody watching live on YouTube at WeLikeDrinking.com/show every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time.
As you ought to do.
They're going to try to tell me if it's a wine term, a beer term, a spirit term, or some kind of pop culture reference. The term this week is mintonette. So is mintonette a wine term, a spirit term, a beer term, or some kind of pop culture reference? John is running from the camera, so we're going to go with John first.
Oh, okay. Mr. Eccles.
Yes, sir.
Can you spell that for us,
can.
please?
Mintonette.
Okay, mintonette. I got the ETTE part correctly, but I wasn't sure if it was an M or an N. Okay. So mintonette. It's a small something.
Jesus.
Well, come on. We know about, language usage and stuff. So it's a small something.
In Spain, it's called mintito.
See, there you go. I'm gonna say, gosh, I don't know. I'm really gonna drag this through the mud. I'm gonna say it's it's a bonsai version of mint.
Mint. So I guess you're saying it's a pop culture reference, or are you saying it's a spirit reference?
Yeah, I say it's a spirit reference. Yeah, because you put mint in bitters and other liquors.
Yeah. All right. Jeff Solomon.
There's a game within the game, Eccles.
Yes, there is.
And part of that game is who you call on first.
That's right.
And who you call on last.
Absolutely.
And so I don't know about y'all, but when I'm hosting this segment, if I feel like somebody might have the correct answer, I like to save them for last.
Yeah.
And if Eccles has a feeling that Drew Nenow of Nenow Family Wines in Paso Robles may end up getting this correct, then I've got this feeling that it's some sort of wine type of situation.
I will say, Solomon, I will say this. You are correct so far. I do have a feling that Drew may know this word.
This, you son of a bee. I'm gonna stick with. See, I know that you know. I'm gonna stick with, even though you're trying to get me to jump off of the wine train, I'm gonna stick with the wine train. Especially when we have this, I'm gonna say a French origin here. Paso Robles is known for really just rocking Rhone. And what I think about with a lot of French wines, Rhone wines in general, sometimes there are certain nicknames for wines that you might be more familiar with, but also I think about look, in a Chateauneuf de Pape, there's 13 different grapes that go in there. And that's, a shining light of Rhone wines. But my feeling is mintonette is actually a Rhone grape variety that's not allowed in Chateauneuf de Pape. It's just there.
They make jelly out of it.
No. It's a blending grape. It adds some depth of flavor. It adds some color. It's known for its bright acidity and grippy green tannins at the exact same time. But there's no middle ground there, right? And that's where the mint comes from. There's no middle ground. It's both bright and green at the exact same time. Mintonette.
That's great. I love your logic. What's the chat think before I bump this over to Drew?
Brad H says he's guessing it's a wine term,
Okay.
some kind of pipette for barrel sampling.
Right.
Kristen says it's a wine term, maybe
Ooh.
like a sub-region on the border of Germany and France.
Ooh.
Rhett is talking about like gin and Slurpees. I'm not sure what's wrong.
All right. Drew looked a little confused when I said it, so I know I went way back in his history to pull this one out. So we're gonna throw Mintonet over to Drew and see if he knows what this is.
And you get really into the nitty gritty of your words here, and you really dissect it. And I'm sitting here thinking that it sounds Shakespearean or something, and Mintonet, which takes me to Britain, where maybe it might be a beer term, maybe a form of maybe a hop of some sort that they use within a beer.
Okay. All right.
Everybody has the same wine. I feel like my best odds are to maybe go outside of everybody else. Maybe it's the obvious choice. So I'm going to go beer term.
All right. Apparently, I went too far back in Drew's history for this one because Mintonet, shockingly, no one got this right tonight because Mintonet, I even tried to give him a little hint when I said, I'm going to bump this over to Drew.
Oh God, is this you do some weird research? I was like, is this his kindergarten teacher? And then you said bump again and you did this motion.
Yeah.
Is this like some sort of like volleyball term?
It is the original term for volleyball.
Oh my gosh.
Which Drew happened to coach.
Oh man, you really knew.
his career. So Mintonet is the original term for volleyball. Sorry, players. Everyone loses on Mintonet.
Like, there's this badminton type of thing going on here.
Yeah.
Badminton, Mintonet. Like, and there's a net involved. Jesus. It's so obvious now.
Yes, so obvious.
So obvious.
It's when you take the giant ball known as a shuttlecock.
Hey, remember, we're trying to watch our language this episode, Jeff.
Sorry, let me show you the birdie instead.
All right, Drew. We're finally at the point where I think we could say welcome to the show. I think it could be. So, we always love to hear origin stories. So can you tell us where the idea for Nenow Family Wines came from?
Well, I guess way back in the day, the inception of this brand started in 2002. When I was 12 years old, my dad, who was a computer technician for IBM, got this crazy idea that he wanted to start making wine. And my aunt and uncle had been making wine up in the St. Helena area of Napa Valley since the early 90s. So they helped him get a jump start. And way back then, my dad got some Syrah and Cabernet from the Napa Valley and started a brand called Robert Nenow Winery. And this is something, we were living in San Diego at the time. And for those who don't know the geography of it, St. Helena to San Diego and vice versa, about a 10-hour drive. So my dad and I spent a lot of time together going back and forth between the two places as he tried to get this wine brand off the ground, but while he was also working this job for IBM. And he was able to keep that up until 2010 before he eventually burnt out and had to give it up. And I could tell that it really hurt him to have to give something like that up. So fast forward to 2014, my sister, Tracy, had just given birth to her second child, and I was up in the Bay Area with her. And her husband, my brother-in-law, Mike, started throwing out this idea of next steps and what to do in the long term in our life. And they, by nature, are entrepreneurs and own businesses. And they were like, you're getting situated down in Paso in the wine industry. And what do you think if we actually did this wine thing and built a brand out of nothing? And at the time, I thought that they were kidding. I thought my sister had some crazy, like, leftover effects of, her Spinal Tap or whatever. So I kind of just like, oh, that's cool. That'd be really great. Fast forward to 2016. I was at their house, and lo and behold, they were serious. And the conversation turned to, how do we do this? So from then to the 2017 harvest, we sought out sourcing some grapes, figured out where we could make it, and then brought my dad in and told him we wanted to continue his legacy of the Robert Nenow Winery in the form of Nenow Family Wines. And so that's how it was born. Our first vintage, as I said, was in 17, and we're gearing up for the 2020 harvest. So I feel like we just started this thing, but we're already about to do our fourth harvest.
So
Wow. I guess it takes a lot of terp water to start a winery then, right?
So your father had his, and that inspired you, and it may have inspired your sister as well. When you guys approached him about it, was he like, no, what are you doing? You're crazy. Or was he fully behind it and said, yeah, I got your back. I got a whole lot of ideas.
He was behind it. I think he kind of assumed that something like this would happen eventually. Because when I was in 8th grade, so at 13 years old, was when I came to my father and had told him that I wanted to make wine professionally as a career. I even have a note to myself from back then of I'd like time capsule letter about that time in my life and saying that I wanted to be a winemaker. So it's something I wanted for a really long time, and went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo and got a degree in winemaking. And it's really, since I was a teenager, all I've ever wanted to do. So again, I don't know that at the time, the age of 26, that he anticipated it coming together that quickly, but we're just that crazy, I guess.
That's amazing. If I asked my 13-year-old what he want to do, it would be either on YouTube or play Fortnite. That would be about the extent of what he wants to do with his life right now. So, John Riak.
Well, you kind of answered my question already, Drew, but I mean, it seems, a lot of times when you hear about people that grow up in agriculture, the last thing they want to do is continue in agriculture. Kids don't like, they don't want to be punching cattle. They don't want to be driving tractors and sowing fields for wheat. But wine seems to be different. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of cool. But what was it that you think tipped the scales for you? Was it the time you spent with your dad and the effort and the passion that he put into it? Or what do you think, what lit the fire really?
Well, first off, I totally understand the sentiment. And I know a lot of people that grew up in ag families that had a hard time getting into that themselves. But when it comes to winemaking, what I realized early on is it's not just farming and agriculture. There's this other artistic side of it, and this nuance, and there's this mystique about it, where I think any winemaker who says that they know what they're doing or they have it all figured out, or they're lying to your damn face. That's not the case at all. You are always learning, and I was fortunate to grow up around winemakers who felt that way. But really what tipped the scale, as I mentioned, that my aunt and uncle were the original ones to start making wine in St. Helena. They started a label back in the 90s called Barons and Hitchcock. And prior to this, they were restaurant owners in Humboldt County and were making wine in their garage. And anybody who's owned a restaurant know that that's no way to make a living a lot of the time. Yeah. They were people that went from that to throwing themselves into winemaking. And when I did go up with my dad to help them with harvest or help my dad, I noticed that they were just working these ungodly hours and just working themselves to the bone. And any other situation, any other kind of work, you'd watch people doing that and be like, I don't want to do that. Yet they were walking away from that work with smiles on their face and nothing else but wanting to talk about wine more when they were done with the workday. And to an impressionable 13-year-old, you know, I was kind of in this stage where all I wanted in my adult life, in my career, my direction, was something that meant something to me and something that was truly something that I could hang my hat on and be proud of. I came from a family, I told you my dad worked for IBM. My entire family was basically electricians outside of these winemaking delinquents. And watching these tradespeople, I loved them and they were really good at their jobs. I just saw what Lisa and Les, my aunt and uncle and my dad, were doing on the wine side, and it just resonated with me.
That's amazing. That's amazing from a 13-year-old too, I gotta say.
To have that kind of perspective, like do what you love and you'll be stoked on it. And so, you know, it's pretty apparent just in like, you know, knowing at a young age that this is what you wanted to do, getting into the industry, you know, at a pretty young age, in terms of like, you know, I did the math, you're very young, and like, you know, basically having your own winery at this age, that's awesome. It means that you have to love wine. And I gotta go back. I just gotta tap into your youth because I'm jealous. What is it that you first loved about wine itself? Like, what was your first like aha moment with wine?
That's on the nose kind of question right there as far as wine goes, because not only watching how much people enjoyed the work behind it and wanting work to have value to it, but also the fact that there's a lot of kind of work that you do and you put a lot of toil and struggle and effort into things, but it's really hard to find something, if you really sit down and think about it, that sort of effort is culminated into a physical manifestation that you can then drink and enjoy on a really, really hedonistic level. You know what I mean? And like wine in itself is already so easily enjoyable in a lot of ways, but then to add all this effort into it and have it on the other end to look back on. So maybe what I'm doing is completely selfish. You can call me as selfish as you want, but I love what is on the other end of all that work. And also the fact that, I can't remember, maybe it was some writer, ancient writer, you guys probably know, who said that wine is just sunshine in a glass. And like that, there's truth in that. It's Mother Nature, it's sunlight, it's rain, it's all these things culminated into a grape and then expressed differently based off of where those grapes were grown. Like, that's amazing that the beverage would be different just because of the things that are happening around it. I feel like it's a really good parallel to our lives a lot of the time.
Hell yeah. Hey, do you get a kick out of watching people drink your wine?
Oh yeah. I wish I could just stand in the corner and like, they don't know that I'm the one that made it and I could just watch them enjoy it. And that's really weird, but I wish.
So if we're ever at your tasting room, you should be on the lookout for some guy in a trench coat and a hat and some.
No, it's when you walk by the mirror, like there's somebody on the other side.
Yeah. I already drilled a couple holes in the wall of the tasting.
You walk by a painting and the eyes follow you.
Porky's wine tasting room.
Oh my! So now, right now, you're launching with 5 wines you're producing. You've got a Grenache, you've got a Syrah, you got a Viognier. You also have a wine called 11s, and you have a Family Club exclusive called 99 Steps. So I think we can guess what's up with the first 3, but can you give us the story behind those last 2 wines and where their names come from?
Yeah, the 11s, everything else is a varietal wine. So as you said, Syrah, Grenache, Viognier. The 11s is the only blend that we do. So it inspired by the Southern Rhone of Chateauneuf. These are Grenache, Syrah, and eventually in 2018, we started sourcing some Morved to make it a true GSM blend. So again, like I expressed before, one of my favorite things is the aspect of terroir and expressing grapes based off of where they grow. So the best way to do that is in a single varietal, single vineyard designated wine. But with 11s, I get to blend and work on a lot of the nuance and try and craft through blending a really, really complete wine. And that's what I do. I hold the title winemaker for another brand that you mentioned, ONX Wines. And ONX Wines is all about blending. We blend till our heads fall off over there. So I by nature love doing it as well. So with the 11s, I get to do that. The name behind the 11s comes from my sister, who is the type of person that says she sees the number 11 everywhere. And we did some research into it, and it's supposed to be a sign from the universe that you're on the right track.
Oh, okay. So you mean when I look at the clock and I always seem to catch it at 11:11? That's what you're talking about? Okay.
Yep.
And then the 99 steps.
99 Steps is a wine that when we started this whole thing was the very first thing that came to my mind as far as to make. And that was West Side Paso Robles Syrah. So those of you who know the Paso Robles AVA well, the West Side is full of rolling mountain hills of the Santa Lucia Highlands. And that's where, in my opinion, some of the best wines in California are made are from that West Side of Paso Robles. And in particular, Syrah from the West Side. There's been a lot of wineries who have gotten upper 90s, even 100-point scores from Syrah on that side of town. So that was where I first went, and wanting to get Syrah from the West Side of Paso, I found a vineyard called Four Lanterns, where they had a block of Syrah on a very top of a hill, a really steep hill. And every time I tried to get my truck up the hill to go check on the grapes, my tires would spin out, and I'd end up backing all the way back down the hill and eventually just have to walk up this crazy hill to check on the grapes.
Oh, wow.
And after about 15 times of doing that, I counted how many steps it took me from where I was to the top. And it was 99, and it seemed like an appropriate name.
I love it.
That's awesome.
Did you ever run into a bear on those hikes up into no man's land that looked at you like they'd never seen a human before?
No, a bear wouldn't even dare try and hike this hill. So,
quick, going back to the 11s, you were saying recently that you introduced Mourvedre into the blend. I'm just wondering if you could carve out like a 2% for some mignonette, because I know a guy.
You got Jeff on that one.
He'll see if he can set that up.
Oh God!
Oh,
yikes!
I'm spiking this episode.
Oh Lord!
John.
I can dig it. I can dig it.
Oh.
All right, bye.
John, what else you got?
Well, it's interesting because we did open that TP Reserve Grenache yesterday, and Drew, I'm a brewer, so my wine journey I'm not in its infancy. I've learned a boatload of stuff from these guys over the years, but I was kind of surprised yesterday with my Grenache that I got kind of a little bit of an umami flavor out of it. It was kind of meaty, and then to see the description of yours having some notes of prosciutto and things like that was like, oh, okay. So there's nothing wrong with the wine or my palate. So that's just kind of an interesting thing, balancing that meatiness against the fruit of the grape. Is that a blessing or a curse when you're dealing with Grenache?
Oh, it's one of my favorite things about working with Grenache is that, I haven't been much for making Pinot, but there's some Pinot fanatics out there who just love the fact that it is kind of a bare variety and that it just kind of lays it all out there. And Grenache is that way, that it's these really delicate aromatics and flavors, and that's what kind of yields the ability to show something. Umami is a good way to put it, because you're not necessarily talking about a thick cut steak and like a meaty, bloody piece of steak. You're talking about prosciutto and umami and something more boiled down to the center of it. And at the end of the day, that's what Grenache offers, is this raw vulnerability of a grape. That the grape itself is large grape with really thin skin.
Okay.
And it's something that you just can't over extract. It's really, really dependent on where you grow it and how you craft it. And for our part, we really try to find sites that we don't have to manipulate the fruit at all coming in. And then we don't do a lot through fermentation to manipulate it either, besides maybe some stems, some whole cluster. And then when it comes to aging, we don't use any new oak on Grenache either, because it is such a delicate variety and shows such amazing aromatics and flavors just, on its own, that it doesn't need that oak. And in fact, oak will dominate a lot of those things.
So is Grenache just as difficult to grow as Pinot with the thin skin?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is it? Okay.
I would, Pinophiles are probably throwing something at their screen right now because it's nothing like that. And it's true. I mean, Paso is what you call a, class 4 growing region. It's a hot region. And there are some people that grow Pinot Noir up here, but not a lot, because it is a tough region to grow something that fickle. Mm-hmm. But Grenache does just fine. It just happens to have thinner skins. It's more, as far as a warm climate variety, it's a little more fickle than the others.
But it very much it does well in the hot environments, right? It does well in the warm climates.
It can do well in cool climates too. You mentioned another Grenache that we do, the Rigetti Grenache. Mm-hmm. That's from Edna Valley down in San Luis Obispo. And it's really near where John Albin's vineyard is. And John Albin is the premier rum producer of California. He's made his name from growing Grenache in a cool climate too.
Okay. Awesome. And so you've kind of mentioned it, but right now you're contracting all your grapes, right? Mm-hmm. So are you looking at possibly starting your own vineyards, or are you, this venture is just going to focus on contracting fruit out long term?
I get to work with estate fruit and have really minute control of farming at ONX, which mm-hmm. is all estate grown. I can't, you never know what the future is going to throw at you or what opportunities may present themselves, but I love the maneuverability and the ability to seek out and build relationships with new growers all the time. And there's something really special about working with a grape grower who is so passionate about their product, the grapes, and then meeting that with our passion to make wine. There's such a synergy there, and that's one of my favorite relationships within the industry, are with those growers, where your goals may be different, but they're at the core the same at the same time. So I am planning on sticking with the sourcing of fruit, and our sourcing is getting better every year. So
go ahead.
It was just something I wanted, most days, not every day, but every day I say a little mantra to myself because I get to brew, lately once a week, but used to be 3 times a week. Anyway, I'm here to finish the job of all the hard work for all the people that brought those raw ingredients to me, mm-hmm. the malt, the hops, the yeast, so I understand that connection. I wish I had a closer connection with the people like you do, to look a person in the eye and say, I'm going to take your grapes, I'm going to do the best darn job I can with those, and thank you for doing everything you did up until this point. I think it's it's an honor system. You have to have that commitment to honor the hard work of the people that brought you those things.
Yeah, man. And actually, if I can say, because I usually get interviewed and people ask about, who gave me some of the best advice that I've ever gotten making wine. And I usually can't say this verbatim, but on your show, it's the perfect platform.
Yes, it is.
there's a man by the name of Mark Goldberg here in town in Paso who actually is one of those crazy people that have taken to making Pinot Noir in Paso Robles. And I was pouring next to him at an event, and I was just starting Nenow Family Wines, and I had kind of been prodding people all the time about what their secret is. And I asked Mark, who's a salty 80-something-year-old guy who's been doing it forever, what's the one thing that you would tell me that I need to do? And he said, get good grapes and don't fuck them up.
That's great, because it kind of leads to my next question is how was it when you were first starting out sourcing those grapes? And then, I envision, like, when they give you their grapes, are they expecting a certain type of wine, or are they like, here, you go run with this, or do they want to taste it when they're done to see if they want to work with you again? Or is there anything that comes out like that?
That 2017 year really sticks out in my mind, and I'll never forget it, because not only were I had led up to that point thinking that my sister and brother-in-law were kidding about this venture and having to scramble to try and put it together. At that point, I felt like I was literally begging people to try and help me find fruit. And I found a great confidant and mentor and helper, and I'm going to give him a shout out because he's been so helpful to me. There's a man named Nick Elliott from Nacora Winery here in Paso. And he helped me get the Grenache, that's the basis of the 11s, from a vineyard called La Vista. He helped me get Syrah from Biennacido Vineyards, which is one of the best vineyards in California. And then I was able to source a few things on my own through, I would just call dumb luck. But yes, it's very much been a fact where these growers are really consistently coming to you after the fact and wanting to taste what you made out of it, especially for my program where I like to put the vineyard on the label and give them recognition for the grapes that they grew. They really want to make sure that I'm not putting swill on the market that has so that's
a grog.
Yeah. But I have to say, so far, I haven't gotten any angry letters or phone calls from growers, so I think we did okay.
Awesome. And again, folks, we're talking to Drew Nenow with Nenow Family Wines. All of these wines, except for the 99 Steps, is available for sale on nenowfamilywines.com, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Jeff or John, any other questions for Drew?
I was just thinking, you talked about, like, really how great is that fellow winemaker was able to kind of like help you like through the door and get all these relationships going. I'd imagine that there might have been situations where doors got slammed in your face before you even had a chance. And I wonder, like, have you ever had an opportunity, like, after the fact, to go up to somebody who's like, get out of here, kid, and then just bring up this baller ass wine that you made and slam it down on the table in front of them and say, take this, and they love it, and then they're begging you, oh, please, can you take my grapes and make a wine? And then you say, nah, man, nah. Like, have you ever had that opportunity, or would you ever do something like that? And who would it be?
If you haven't wrote plays, I think you should. Man, you got a flair for the theater. I love it. That's kind of half true, because again, I was literally begging people, and that means there's a lot of people that told me no. But the great thing about the wine industry, especially in Paso, is it's a really personable, supportive network of people where actually all of the sourcing that I get now going into the 2020 harvest are people that previously had said no to me. And it's just the fact of going in and saying, hey, when you do have something available, when you do have some fruit to sell, give me a call. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, and it's just been, it's amazing how much easier it is to find grapes nowadays than it was back then.
And real talk, I live in the Bay Area in Gilroy. Like Paso is not that far of a drive for me, but I really like cut my teeth in terms of wine, like in the Santa Cruz Mountains and Napa and Sonoma and even Livermore, and I'm loving the Santa Clara Valley. But I'll tell you, the times that I have been to Paso and gone tasting down there, my wife and I have always been like, this place is so great. Like winery after winery, you walk in and just the folks working there are just like so passionate. Everybody's so nice and so relaxed, and they're not trying to like, God forbid, especially as a youngster, I wish my worst enemy would walk into a winery in the Napa Valley with a coupon and see how they get treated afterwards. And Paso, everybody's so GD nice.
It's like Canada in California.
It's the Canada of California. It's hot as hell, but it's the Canada of California. I just wanted to give your region a shout out. Like it's so awesome.
Thanks, man. I love working here, and it was actually, again, I have roots in St. Helena and Napa, and that's where I technically learned to make wine from an early age. But it was my aunt and uncle who make wine up there that told me, you should be in Paso. That is the place to be. The people are friendly. They're making outstanding, badass wines, and especially as far as starting a brand, that's where you want to be. And they were right.
Listen to your elders.
John, there's some great beer down there too, by the way.
John, any other questions you got?
Oh, I was just perusing through the site, and I saw the Righetti Ranch vineyard, and I'll think, oh, is Dave Righetti growing grapes? He should be in the Hall of Very Good. But no, different Righetti.
Yeah.
How dare you?
The owner of Righetti Vineyard is a man by the name of Don Righetti. Really, really awesome farmer.
All right. Now, we talked a little bit about the show, but we want to give you the chance. If there's anything that you want to let our listeners know, if they want to order some Nenow Family Wines, do you got anything for them?
Well, I do want to mention what we call our family club, if I may.
Absolutely.
It's a different structure in that we plan on staying a very small boutique winery. We produce between 600 to 700 cases a year. And our hopes and dreams is to have a loyal wine club that is responsible for or gets access to about 80% of that. So our design of the family club is we're only accepting the first 225 members. And at that point, we will be closing the club and raising our retail prices. But all of those original people that got in and believed in us from the get-go will always pay the same price for the wines.
Oh.
And we'll continue that trend as we slowly grow over time. So we'll have another 200 people as we double production and then raise our prices again. And the hope is eventually, if we're making good enough wine that people believe in us and believe that we can grow to that point, they'll be getting wines for $45 to $50 a bottle, but retail will be $70 to $80, kind of in that range. So it's something that a lot of these people who are getting in earlier with us, while we're still, I'm young. I'm not going to act like I have everything figured out. I think the wine's pretty good, but I think they can be a lot better, and believe that they can get better. We want to say thanks to those people.
Here's why I love this club idea. I've got a buddy whose father-in-law has this insane wine collection, and Chateau Margaux from the 1970s and 80s and everything. And every once in a while, he'll just send me pictures of what his father-in-law broke out. And I'm always like, mofo, how'd you get your hands on this? And they're like, it was the 70s. It was the 80s. I only paid $5 for it. Yeah. And this is what Drew is offering you right now. Do you want Chateau Margaux for $5? Think about what he's saying. Yeah. That's all. And I'm just going to put that out there.
That's awesome.
I'm just curious. People can find it at nenowfamilywines.com, but but are there multiple tiers? Are there how many bottles? Like what's the skinny on the family club?
There's a 6-bottle family, which is 2 shipments of 3 bottles a year, and a 12-bottle family, which is 2 shipments of 6 bottles per year.
Okay.
So shipments go out in April and late October.
Okay.
And that's the only cost to be into the club. There's no other cost. You get free tastings at our tasting room here in town. The 12-bottle family members get free shipping. And there is a tab on our website for the family club that you can click on to see all that good info.
Awesome. All right. So we'll be checking that out. All right. Anything else you wanted to drop on our listeners?
I just want to say that this is one of the most lighthearted and fun kind of interviews I've ever done. And that's a hard thing to do, not necessarily within alcohol in general, but within wine. I think one of the most difficult things about wine is to make it approachable. And I think you 3 gentlemen make wine extremely approachable. So thank you.
Well,
Thank you
very much. That's awfully kind of you to say. That is kind of what we try to do. All right. So folks, be sure to check out nenowfamilywines.com. Follow them on Instagram at Nenow Family Wines. And we're going to move on with the rest of the show. I'm looking at the time. I think we got time for some booze news because I'm excited to get into this. So let's get to it and hit the booze news. We discuss interesting, noteworthy, or shit that freaks people out. Solomon. I gotta say, Solomon, you're not looking very clean tonight. Your beard is scruffy. Your hair's a mess. So what kind of story do you got for
us? You son of a bee. We're going to talk about clean wine, but let's go in the way back machine. I want to go back like a week.
Sherman. I want the way back machine to a week ago.
Oh, you. Yeah. I'm going back to last week and coming across my feed from vegnews.com. Cameron Diaz launches vegan wine brand. And I thought to myself, didn't she already have a wine brand? And then I was like, no, that was the other Charlie's Angel. That was Drew Barrymore. But I said, okay, I like Cameron Diaz. I like wine. Let me start reading. And, here's this interview from Veg News. And I'm not a vegetarian, but I also eat a lot of delicious vegetarian dishes. I grew up in Santa Cruz. One of my best friends, his last name is The Vegetarian. True story, Dave the Vegetarian. True story. His driver's license says something different, but whatever. So I'm reading this, and Cameron Diaz, along with her friend, an entrepreneur, Catherine Power, they started their own wine label called Aveline Wines or Aveline Wines. One of those. I'm going to say Aveline Wines. And it's a wine made with organic grapes. And the big angle that Veg News is talking to Cameron Diaz about in this interview is about Cameron is saying, like, I've drank wine my whole life. I never really thought about the fact that wine, even though it's grape juice, isn't necessarily vegetarian all the time. They could use eggs or fish bladders in the processing of it. And she had an opportunity to start a wine label, and she said, let's go vegan. Let's do it. These are dry farmed grapes. There's a rosé from France. There's a white blend from Spain. And, the article is written in a very, I can say this because I'm from Santa Cruz, in a very like hippy dippy-ish type of way, and I have not clicked through to the Aveline brand. I'm not necessarily interested in running and jumping to get a $25 rosé, and I'm certain it's fine, as well as the white wine. They are available at wine.com. We're affiliates there, right? Wine.com/WLD.
No, if you, in case you don't remember, they turned us down.
They turned us down. Okay, all right. No one listens to us. So I was like, okay, Cameron Diaz, wine. All right, in one ear, out the other. Within a week, I'm seeing people freaking out, sharing this interview and being like, another celebrity trying to get into the wine game, blah, 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 blah. Not everyone can be Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, yada, yada, yada. And people are specifically like freaking out over, and I swear to you, nowhere in the original article that I read did it say clean. It didn't say it, right? But apparently in their materials, the Aveline line of wines, they do talk about it being a clean wine with none of those nasty pesticides and stuff like that. I'm sure their marketing is not necessarily the most honest, right? But it's also something that a lot of folks are looking towards. But I did see people kind of freaking out and talking about like the bigger conversation of like clean wine and what is this, and this is kind of garbage. I saw Alder Yarrow at Vinography. I'm not even going to tell you the gist of what he wrote. The title, I think, says it all. Clean wine is a commercial scam. And if you'll recall, I had my own little rant a while back about there's a brand called Dry Farm Wines, which, I was kind of pissed at the way that they were marketing and like, this wine is healthier for you, and you don't get hangovers from this wine. Now, that's not necessarily, in what I saw, what Aveline is saying. And I have to tell you, I think that no one would really give a shit if it was not Cameron Diaz who owned this winery. But I did want to know y'all's thoughts. I wanted to know what you were thinking about clean wines in general in terms of marketing. Do you think maybe people are being too hard on Cameron Diaz? I don't know. Johnny, what do you think?
Well, what was my response when you first posted it to our internal messaging group? More celebrity bullshit. Well, I read the article before I posted that, and Aveline. Okay, does that invoke an image of wine to you?
It sounds like makeup, if I'm being honest.
To me, it sounds like celebrity flavored mineral water without bubbles in it. Is what it sounds like to me. I'm like, well, that's boring as shit. Cameron Diaz is making Gatorade? What? I mean, clean wine, whatever. I mean, organic grapes, fine, but they're sourcing these grapes from France and Spain, but marketing it here in the U.S. I mean, I've talked about this before on the show. In New Mexico, we can sell wine from local producers under our beer license if the wine is produced in New Mexico. So craft beer, craft wine, right? We can't serve Robert Mondavi, we can't serve Gallo, we can't serve anything from the Finger Lakes for that matter. But there's a place here in Albuquerque that is bringing in grapes from California and Spain and making wine here in Albuquerque. To me, that's kind of cheating. Mm-hmm. This seems kind of like cheating to me. Yeah, I mean, really, I don't know. It just seems so. It's kind of like wine with a facelift. It's just not real.
And because it says they're clean?
No, because
because
is it not the chutzpah, the hegemony, the just what's the word I'm looking for? I'm having a senior moment. Just the audacity.
Oh, there you go.
The celebrity audacity of, we're just gonna make wine and we're gonna make it clean.
okay.
F you, Cameron Diaz.
I mean, okay. So, Drew, would you ever market any of your wines as being clean wines?
I wouldn't use those words, but we source our grapes organically, and I don't add shit to our wine. So yeah, they're clean.
Are they vegan?
I don't need to market it that way,
That's a great point. You don't need to market it that way. Yeah,
Exactly.
This is somebody who's, doesn't have a background in wine, who's trying to sell wine. So there's always got to be an angle. My angle is I know how to make wine.
Oh, yes.
I like that. So you peel each individual grape, is what you're saying.
With loving care.
Yeah, exactly.
But buzzword marketing, I guess, is, whatever.
yeah.
Eccles, does this wine sound that horrible to you?
I saw this come out and I was like, okay. And then all the eruption came back and I'm like, how is this any different than I think two ladies started a wine that's like literally called like clean wine. And there's the fit vine, where they somehow you don't get hangovers from drinking it.
My dry farm label, not only will we not give you hangovers, but every member of the dry farm wine team, we all do intermittent fasting. We don't want to get kicked out of ketosis. Just wanted to throw that out there.
like there seems to be a lot of other wines.
We ate a lot of chia seeds and acai bowls.
I like chia seeds in my coconut milk yogurt.
What about your oat milk? Do you have any oat milk? There seems to be a lot of other wines that seem to push this narrative a lot harder than Cameron Diaz's wine do, and everybody didn't lose their collective shit as hard as they have over this one. And everybody lost their minds over this one, and I don't know if anybody's even tasted it. So is it a total marketing gimmick? Absolutely. Like, do they understand what they're even selling? I don't think so. When people start talking about additives to wine, that isinglass is an additive or that they add sugar to it or any of this stuff, they don't understand the winemaking process at that point. But I just don't get why everybody has lost their mind over this one in particular. I mean, Charlie's Angels was a terrible movie. I mean, I will give you that, but I don't think we need to pile on everything Cameron Diaz does in retribution of the Charlie's Angels franchise. But I don't get the hate.
If she's called it Everybody Loves Mary wine,
Yeah,
she could have added Mega Purple to it and sold a shit ton of it.
I promise there's no hair gel in it. I mean, it's fly off the shelves.
So she doesn't understand marketing at all, is what we're saying. You know what? Here's real talk. I think people are super sensitive to individuals' hardships right now, and for a celebrity to just come in and announce that they've come up with a wine label. Here's someone that makes $10 million for film. She doesn't have to work another day in her life. There's a lot of people out of work. There's a lot of breweries and wineries struggling because their tasting rooms aren't open, because their breweries can't open, whatever. And here comes this celebrity touting snake oil. Really, I mean, it's marketing buzzword wine. And I think it's insulting. And I think people
and let's
feel that they're insulting so many people by doing this. I think if at any other time, if this was a year ago, if this was 5 years from now, no one would care.
So,
but I think it's just bad timing.
So look, I will say this. Right now, I would say people are generally pissed off. A population is more pissed off right now in general, as a whole, as opposed to like.
Where do you get that feeling?
As opposed to like any other like recent time. I'll give you that. However, look, is Cameron Diaz not allowed to like wine and invest in a winery?
Sure.
And is her PR firm not allowed to say, okay, look, obviously Cameron Diaz is a name. Let's push her out there. There's this clean wine thing. Like, I think we could angle that. It's like, I don't think that Cameron Diaz came off as like being pretentious or making like any sort of outlandish claims. I'll even go back a while back. Do you remember when Kim and Kanye bought a vineyard? How dare they? And people lost their shit. And like it was all they did was buy a vineyard. I don't even think they ever even made wine, but like people fucking freaked out. And it's just like, I get it, but it's like I'd love to see an article by Alder Yarrow about clean wine is bullshit that didn't have a big picture of Cameron Diaz on the top.
Oh, sure.
I don't think that she's the face of that, and I don't think that she deserves that. And maybe, just maybe, she happens to be that hypothetical hall pass that exists in conversations that my wife and I have. But like,
and now we're at the root of it.
Can I go back to the Kim and Kanye thing?
Can we talk to her PR firm, see if we can get her on the show?
Yeah, I'll do my best, Jeff. I'll be your wingman.
No, but Kim and Kanye, weren't they going to grow grapes to make champagne, and aren't they going to serve that at the inaugural ball when Kanye's elected president in November?
Oh my God! Oh, please.
That'll end up being a great investment.
You know what? I'm not saying it. I'm not saying a thing. You're trying to bait me, dude. Not gonna do it.
So, Drew, I am curious though. When you see something like this, does it frustrate you when you see this much press about something like this? Is there any contemplation in your head about, fuck it, I'm just going to put clean wine on my label and everybody can piss off? Or I mean, when you see something like that, what's your visceral reaction to these kind of wines?
No, I don't necessarily get a visceral reaction to it. I think it's really that we're playing on two totally different playing fields.
Yeah.
As far as her brand and my brand go. We're marketing to totally different people. And honestly, I don't know that large production side of things, mass, marketing ability. I don't have the ability to reach millions and millions of people, So at the end of the day, I stick a little bit more true to who I am on that. And I understand it's a totally different conversation when you're talking to masses of people and even just the production of mass quantities of wine compared to our 600 and 700 cases. That's even a whole different side of winemaking that maybe it is a little bit more difficult to make wine in a clean style. So maybe it does mean something more to a production end. But from my end, where I make wine, it's easy to be clean. I just clean everything and make sure it's sanitized and you know what I mean? And, there's a lot, wine has come a long way, even in the boutique side of the world where like you were talking about using fish guts and egg yolks and or I guess the egg whites, not yolks, and in winemaking. And now you don't have to do those things. They make completely clean, vegan, whatever you want to call it, kind of products that you can add to your wine that make the same end.
Whirlflock tabs are made from seaweed. I use it in beer every day I brew.
Okay. I know it's a little bit late in the show for this.
Oh,
but
here we
Drew,
go. Here we go.
I just had this amazing epiphany,
Oh,
right?
Okay.
Before you go, Jeff, hold it for a second. Drew, Jeff Solomon, he is fantastic at telling people how to run their businesses better. So he is about to drop a knowledge bomb on you. So if you have paper and pencil.
Yeah, can I get something to write with?
Yeah, this is being recorded. It will be kept in the annals of history, way back in the annals of history.
Annals, got it.
So, so Drew, you're originally from San Diego, right?
Correct.
So what our friends like, way out in the Southwest where they're recording, what they don't understand is in California, especially in the Bay Area, in Sacramento, and then all through SoCal and gosh, I'll even include parts of, I'm going to call Paso Robles SoCal. I know you're Central Coast, but starting from Paso and rolling all the way down through San Diego, skateboard culture is huge, right?
Mm-hmm.
And me growing up in the Bay Area, our skateboarder, our claim to fame back in the day was this guy named Steve Caballero. And, one of the most popular skateboard shoes of all times is the Vans Half Cab, which is named after Steve Caballero. There's a trick called the Caballerial and the Half Cab, all named after Steve Caballero. And he actually now lives in San Diego. And Steve Caballero, this I know about the skateboarder Steve Caballero, who is now, he's about John Ruyak's age, but much better skateboarder. This dude will put his face on anything. You just have to offer it to him. And I was just thinking the other day, because on Instagram, he will post pictures of the salads that he makes. And he goes, look, I made a cab salad. And all of a sudden I had this epiphany. I said, if I had a winery, I would want to get Steve Caballero to make a cab. And I'm just saying, I know you specialize in Rhodes, but this can happen. Just seriously, just follow Steve Caballero on Instagram, make the pitch. You are going to get a whole new demographic, super interested in clean wines. And all you got to do is call it the cab.
Okay. Can we make sure I got this right?
Drop them and put them in 375 bottles and call them half cabs.
Jeez.
It's pure gold. Let me make sure I got these notes right. All right.
Awesome.
All right.
In all reality, that's probably $1 million idea.
He made $1 million.
All right. I'm the bartender of this, and I'm looking out and seeing what's happening in the bar. It's obviously time for
Last
call.
Winston has taken off his considering cap.
Last call. Time to clean house and lock the doors. You know what we do here, folks. We're looking for help from you. Follow on the social media platforms. You can follow us on Twitter at We Like Drinking One. That's the number one. On Instagram and Facebook at We Like Drinking. Or join our private Facebook group known as The Tavern by visiting WeLikeDrinking.com/tavern. Drew, Nenow, where can listeners find you and the Nenow Family Wines on the social media platforms?
You can find us on Instagram at Nenow Family Wines, and you can find links to our other social sites right there.
And at the website Nenow Family Wines as well, right?
Correct.
All right. Jeff Solomon, if the folks got some thoughts on the show, where can they go to leave them?
Well, what you can do is take a look at your phone. You're probably listening to us on Apple Podcasts right now. Take a look at those empty 5 stars right in front of you. Fill those up and leave a comment about how many bottles of Nenow Family Wines you got. Hey, everybody, buy a case. Take a knee now.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
You're hired.
That should just end the show right there. But Jeff or John Ruyak, if the folks have purchased their case of wines from Nenow Family Wines and they got a little bit of change left over, where should they go to throw that change?
If you've got just a little bit of that change left, send it along to welikedrinking.com/pledge and find out a whole lot more about what it means to become a patron. All kinds of cool stuff.
You can also find the show notes for this episode with all the links to the stories or mentions we have at welikedrinking.com/episodes. Oh my goodness, folks. We went a little bit off the rails, but you're kind of used to that. But it's a time of the show where I get to say, okay, panel, let's take one last trip around this table and get some final thoughts before we shut off the lights. John Ruyak.
Even though I've complained before, during, and after the show about Lowe's, because they're basically a coronavirus breeding ground, they were very cool about the fact that I could return my kitchen cabinet hinges without a receipt. I went on a bill shredding binge the other day on the desk here, and I must have shredded that receipt. But when we realized we couldn't use those hinges, they took them back without any questions. Thank you, Lowe's.
Jeff Solomon.
I didn't know we had an affiliation with Lowe's. Lowe's.com/WLD. Tell them John sent you. All I see now is I have this vision of John angrily. I'm sure he has a shredder, but I just see him angrily folding receipts and that with kitty scissors, you're not getting my information. That's all I got.
Pretty much that you're right.
Drew, any final thoughts before we let you get out of here?
Based on the previous two, I don't know that I really understand this segment, but
I don't either.
I guess I would just like to say that Paso is open, and there's a lot of wineries that, much like any other industry, have struggled through the pandemic and elsewhere. So I encourage people that everybody is taking great precautions here, and it's a very safe place to come visit. And please come support our local economy. The restaurants are amazing here. As these guys mentioned, the hospitality is just incredible. And if you haven't heard of Paso, seek us out. You won't regret it.
Absolutely. Solomon, whenever we finally are able to make our trip, we may have to divert a little bit. Head down.
We can hit. Oh, look. It'll take a while. It'll be. We're gonna have to make it a 3-week trip.
Yeah, it's gonna be a 3-week We Like Drinking episode.
And Drew,
just what the world's ready for.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Drew, I just want to take a second to thank you for taking the time out to join us. And share what you're doing with us. We can't wait to try these wines. They are open now on their website if anybody wants to go purchase them. I'm looking forward to getting some of your stuff in my hands. So thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, guys.
And with that, I'll say thanks again for joining us at the We Like Drinking podcast,
where you'll never drink alone.
Man, there are some episodes that go off the rails in the best possible way. One of them. I think
Oh, that garlic.
Rhett says hashtag John is off the hinges. All right. Let's see. First, YouTubers. I don't know if y'all are still there or not, or if you lost us, but thank you all for joining us so much, and we will see y'all next week.
Bye, YouTube. Bye, Jeff McKinney.
Oh, there it is. All right, that is there, and then